in the wintertime, if I would, I'd rather do
David
that.
O'Connell named
Summertime, I can go
You want
fishing
one?
or whatever.
Yeah, it's
I
nice.
wanna
The
do,
sun made it.
or whatever. Just hope.
May have to hire his son to do all of them so they look alike.
Get rid of this cheesy plastic stuff. Yeah, so anyway,
Okay.
and also, my wife. What did you do today?
Yeah, oh, yeah, I know. Where does she work at?
She's the director of planning at Moravian College.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not staying at all.
Still
Sounds
there?
like it. I'm actually.
Where's Jim? Must be
He's
with
talking to
Lewis.
Lewis.
Not one either, so. I'll just be a little slow, lower.
Is that broke?
I don't know. It's not staying. I mean, I don't care. I'll need it,
I'll check it.
but can't get it back up.
I'll check it. That goes along with the purchase order for the police cams.
Oh, all right.
Oh, you know what? I forgot that. Did I forget that? No.
The difference between that price, which is 10,000 and something, and the resolution that says 13,000. The 10,000 is if we would buy the canvas straight out. 13,000 is because of the 5-year lease.
And
Right.
so this price represents the total price of the thing after 5 years?
No.
100,000,
What's that say?
100,000, 600.
No. Oh, no. The one on the resolution itself, 132,000.
Oh, okay.
Pull that up.
That's the number based on the last census, right?
This is an estimate from the Census Bureau in 27.
Yeah. We have 30, 31. So are you looking to do this for the next budgetary year as it
Yeah,
ready, because
correct.
it's building now?
It actually probably will come into effect next year.
Yeah.
You don't think?
It's going to take
A year
for them
for
to
the cycle.
implement.
Yeah,
Right.
the cycle.
Right.
It won't happen till 20.
Right. Wastewater
One.
plant.
We're gonna move.
Yeah. 21.
We're gonna move down. Bill.
This is now redacted to 602.
Hello, James.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about it right away.
You know, it's a good thing you gave him an auction yet because I heard 4 or 5.
Is that right?
So that's what Mary Ann said. I don't know. So at least you made a showing.
Yeah.
They didn't want hard enough to do anything.
No,
this
you
year.
can just stay saying.
Oh, okay. You're gonna make phone calls.
by
It's
the
not
way,
easy.
And full disclosure, my wife will tell
See
you,
what it's
You know,
like.
the weather out there
she won the gift.
Which one? Ours?
looks like it's
Oh,
a little
good.
cool.
It's all council.
So what? It was, what the heck did I get it for?
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, Mark, yeah.
As we gather here this evening, let us take a moment of silence for the tragic and brutal death of Penny Van Tassel Himmel, who was murdered this past week in Palmer Township, who has been a real active a member of our various organizations, including the Spring Garden Early Childhood Learning Center and the local NWC branch. Tonight we meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and, more importantly, to the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted public servants, we seek blessings on our own deliberations and our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag of the United States of America
Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Milan?
Here.
Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Volcano?
Here.
Mayor Panto?
Here. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and approved. Any additions, deletions, or changes? We're gonna take that one off, you said?
You just want to take it off?
Yeah, well,
Table it, rather.
well, Bill, we need to, make some changes to the developers agreement. Okay. Some significant edits. So is it better to table or to take off the agenda? Probably better to take off the agenda.
Yeah.
Then we'll take it off the agenda.
Okay. So that is, letter C under new business. There's a motion by Dr. Ruggles. Is there a second to remove the developers agreement from the agenda?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call on the amendment.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Roll call on the agenda as amended.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Hold on just a minute.
Okay.
Is that the developers agreement?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Letter
Yes.
C under new business.
Okay, thank you.
Action on the minutes of our June 26th meeting.
Move to approve.
Moved,
Second.
approved, seconded. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
This time we have a certificate of appreciation for Mr. William Ronyak, Bill, as we all know him affectionately. I'm the only one up here at the table that has been back with Bill way back in the mid-'80s when Bill was here and really helped us down at the wastewater plant and left us for a while, went into some of the consulting businesses. And fortunately for the city of Easton, he came back because Bill has really helped turn around the wastewater treatment plant. He's a wonderful person who really knows his sewer, his sewage. And
Nothing wrong with that.
he's a wonderful person and now retired. We appreciate his years of service. So would like to present the certificate to Bill, but anyone else like to say anything?
Just good health and happiness in the future, sir.
Thank you for your
And thank
service.
you.
Thank you very much for your service, Bill.
And Dr. Ruggles wants to say something first.
Yeah, Bill, I have to tell you, one of the things that always impresses me is when I go down and take my students down to the sewage treatment plant, we go in to the headworks where everything comes in. They're looking at all this stuff coming in. And then when we get around and get down to the point where it's going out, and we take a look at the effluent going out, students are like, nah, that's not the same. Can't be the same stuff, you know. But it is. It's amazing thing that you guys do down there, and I really want to thank you for all the years. I've known you for many years, and all the years that you've been working down there, doing that great work. I mean, if people saw the influent and effluent, they would just not believe it. You can't do that, you know, but yeah, it's
And
great.
I think, Bill,
It's
I want to just thank you personally because you got me through some really tough times back in the 80s. We had some management problems and some real personnel issues, and you were like the shining star down there. I really appreciate your efforts, so thank you. David Hopkins, our Director of Public Works.
Yeah, I would just like to echo what Roger said. There's not a lot of people that really understand what goes on down there, and it's a big operation.
Yes, it is.
Bill has been an esteemed colleague, good friend, and he will be very missed. He truly knows his stuff, so to speak, and that kind of institutional knowledge is hard to replace. But I've learned a lot from him over the years. And I wish him the best, but he was excellent at what he did. So,
Want to come up, Bill, and get
Sir,
your
do you want me to
certificate?
read it?
Sure, I want you to read it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
There's a certificate of appreciation being presented to William Runyak from City Council on behalf of the citizens of Easton for his years of service to the City of Easton in the wastewater treatment plant 2012 to 2019. Presented this 10th day of July 2019, signed by the mayor and all of City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Runyak would come forward.
Good to know that it was under control. Every time I pass that door, right? Okay. No deduction for you.
Semper Fi.
They were just leaving when I left.
At this time of our agenda, we're at the public comment on any agenda item only. Would anybody in the public like to speak to council? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we have three bills. Bill number 16, which is amending the traffic control map, creation of a 15-minute parking pickup zone. Bill number 17, which was amending the 2019 miscellaneous grant fund budget. And bill number 18, which is amending the 2017 bond fund budget.
I move the consent agenda.
Second?
Moved and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Bill 18 out and put it under unfinished business, please.
We want to move letter C down to unfinished business.
Please.
No problem. I don't
Thank
see a
you.
problem with that. Okay. Is there, roll call on the consent agenda minus letter C?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Penza?
Aye.
Okay, we move on to reports. There are no reports received by council. Reports of committees. Council Member Brown, Finance Committee.
I have no report, Mayor.
Mayor, I had a question for the
Sure.
finance director. Did you happen to get that list for me? The breakdown of all the bonds?
I don't have a complete list.
Could you use the microphone, please?
Yes, I do not yet have a complete list, but I can share with you what I do have.
Okay, and then for the first 6 months, when do you think you'll have budget actuals?
Actually, I will have that at the next meeting.
Okay. Thanks.
So, through June, sure.
Okay, moving on to Economic Development Committee. Councilmember Volcano.
No report this evening, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Planning and Codes Committee, Councilmember O'Connell.
I have no report, Mayor.
Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Milan.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Public Works Committee, Councilmember Ruggles.
I have no report.
Administration Committee, Councilmember Ettinger.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things that the administration's working on. First, in Human Resources Department has requested that the Civil Service Board meet to certify the Deputy Chief Promotional List. Lieutenants and Captains list have already been certified. Upon approval, all candidates will be presented to City Council for final approval. The City of Easton is working with Crown Castle Telecom of Boston, Massachusetts to provide a private fiber network loop. This would be a significant upgrade to the city's telecommunication network. The city would be a user and not an owner of the private network system. This build will have additional fiber strands available for other entities to have their own private network. The network can also provide 100G capability from Crown Castle versus 100 MB. So it's 100 times faster than what we currently have. From a carrier to carrier standpoint, Crown Castle owns the fiber infrastructure and towers where Verizon is a customer. Additional information will be provided to the City Council upon completion of an internal cost savings and needs analysis. The Administration Safety Committee is meeting regularly to review both incident reports as well as safety issues. The Safety Committee consists of members of all departments and has assisted in correcting potential safety-related issues. The committee has conducted inspections of most of the city's government buildings. Planned fire drills will be planned for this year. If any member of council would like to attend the meetings, you can do so by contacting either Louis Campos or Michelle Wagner in the Human Resources Department. Census update. The Planning Bureau is in the process of sending out invites to community organizations and leaders regarding the 2020 census, inviting them to an information session. The session is tentatively planned for August. Additional information will be provided to council. For additional information, please contact Carl Mangus in the planning department. And finally, social media. Blabbermouth Communication will provide a social media update at the next council meeting. We'll be doing that in committee. Preliminary analytics depict increases in not only social media posts, but subscriptions, including Facebook, up 10%, new city Instagram site, netting 800 subscribers in its first 2 weeks. So we're going to be meeting. Did you have something to add?
No. I didn't mean to cut you off.
We'll be meeting in, there'll be an administration committee on the 23rd to discuss several of these items.
And if I may, I also would like to introduce to council, if you haven't noticed, there's a new face up here at our desk. And the young lady to my left is actually an intern, and I don't want to steal her thunder here, so I'm going to let her introduce herself, as I promised. Let me see, Giselle, make sure this is on.
My name is Giselle Fuentes. I'm going to be a junior in Easton Area High School. I am participating in the Faith Foundation as of right now, interning with Lewis. And in the future, I'd like to pursue my career as a criminal defense attorney.
Just a couple of things to add with Giselle. She had mentioned she is participating in a program through the Faith Foundation. It's a board that I chair currently. It stands for Future Entrepreneurs. That really gives urban students in our urban cores, Easton, Bethlehem, and Allentown, in that order, Mayor.
Good job.
Gives internships at larger organizations and institutions. We work not only with the city of Easton, obviously, but Olympus and PPNL, to name other major corporations. It's a competitive program. Giselle made it. She's an up and rising star, a junior, like she said, at Easton. And what's actually great about this, she's also a resident of Easton, of the West Ward. So myself, Giselle, and Councilman Ettinger had a pre-meeting before the council meeting. I've been very impressed so far with Giselle. She has a couple more weeks left in the internship program. She's also been able to recruit another one of her friends from Easton High School, also here from the West Ward, to participate in the mayor's camp. I told Giselle the requirement was, is the individual like you, a go-getter? And she said yes. I said, okay, bring her in. The mayor would like to have her. So Giselle, welcome.
Yes, very much.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yeah, he's back there. Well, that one's not on. He has. Okay. One of them. Okay, moving on to report of the solicitor, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mayor. The Solicitor's Office has no report this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Report of the mayor, I just mentioned that next week next meeting, I will be introducing a amendment as per my email that we hold the property owner responsible for any fireworks launched from their site, so that the police don't actually have to see the person who actually lit the fuse, but trying to curtail the onerous amount of fireworks that are going off in the city, and hopefully that helps. The Affordable Housing Task Force and the 185 South 3rd Street Committee process is starting. I do have people who have responded for both of those committees. They're not finalized yet, but just want to take a couple seconds at the end of my report to talk to City Council about the 185 South 3rd Street process. This weekend, busy every night. Friday night is Live at the Falls and Lights for Liberty. Lights for Liberty is a demonstration of light to help improve our activities of America at the southern borders with the people, the refugees who are coming in, and the treatment of the children specifically. Saturday morning we have, the Live at the Falls last month was just packed. Thank you, Jared. It was a great job. And the Billy Joel tribute band was very good. It was really, really good. And tomorrow night we have Craig Thatcher. So that should be really good as well. Saturday morning, 267, that's right, the 267th anniversary and birthday of the Easton Farmers Market. Come down and sing happy birthday to the Farmers Market. And Sunday, of course, we start early morning with the CrossFit competition down at Scott Park. Then we have the interfaith service for Heritage Day at the amphitheater, and then, of course, Heritage Day kicks off at 11 o'clock with the 12 o'clock reading of the Declaration of Independence. So, busy weekend for them. Also, want to let you know that the Heritage Building across the street is doing well. Within 60 days, they expect steel to start going up. They're doing a lot of demolition. They're down to the steel trusses. Also, the city ordinance gives me the opportunity to appoint to City Council, a recommendation to City Council, up to three alternates on the Civil Service Board. We've been having a little bit difficulty of getting all three of them together, so we have one alternate. I'd like to, I will present to you two more alternates so that we can get, it's very important that these police and fire lists be maintained up to date. Also, our Tuesday night meetings, I would like to start, Dr. Ruggles and I talked about this, and Mr. Clerk, the onerous task of updating our ordinances. We have a lot of ordinances that still refer to a treasurer. We have a lot of ordinances that still they're just not updated. We don't have for example, we don't have a license officer anymore, but yet business privilege tax is supposed to be paid to the license officer. Well, we'll change that to Department of Finance. So at the Tuesday meetings, those that want to come, the council members, if it's not your committee, you don't feel like attending, that's fine. But we're going to sit here and we're going to, for 90 minutes, we're going to go through ordinances from the beginning to the end of the book. We'll do it by department. So if it's the finance department, you don't want to be here, that's fine. But we got a lot of work to do. A lot of the taxes that need to be taxation ordinance that need to be updated. So I'd like to start that process. We started in 2008. It didn't work then, but obviously City Council is has the responsibility of the ordinance. So I thought the Tuesday nights meetings could be used for that. It's set aside, 3 hours a month, an hour and a half each meeting. Lastly, the 185 South 3rd Street Committee have some really good people who have agreed to serve on that committee from all walks of life, not just people who are pro-economic development, people who are somewhat anti or good urban development, I should say that. People like Tim Hare, who's a preservation architect, but is also very knowledgeable of urban planning and what we would use down there. We're going to be looking to a number of professionals. We were going to bring in the community meetings like the Urban Land Institute and what's the professor's name? Lehigh, keep forgetting her name. Karen Pulley, yeah. Yes, thank you, John and Louis. And an internationally recognized urban planner who has agreed to help us also. But we think that's putting the cart before the horse, so we'd like to ask City Council. Everybody has ideas of what they want there, but what really it comes down to is what is a developer willing to invest in? So I would love to see a grocery store. Okay, let's have a grocery store. But if we don't get a developer who's willing to invest in a grocery store, do we just leave it vacant for the next 10 years or 20 years or whatever it is until somebody decides they want to put a grocery store there? So we thought about doing, while I was away, I thought about this quite a bit. And in looking at it is, do we really maybe want to go out for the RFP first and then put together the community meetings with these professionals like the Urban Land Institute and the professor and maybe even one or two other people with the help the committee evaluate each of the proposals. So that was just a thought that the staff had, and when I was thinking about this while I was on vacation. So I would like some input. It's great for people to come here and say, well, I want a hotel or I want a grocery store, and nobody proposes that. What good is that? It doesn't do us any good unless we're willing to sit and wait on that land until that happens.
I would prefer to go the other route, like you said, put out the RFP, because we did put an RFP out to begin with in conjunction with the other properties, and some of the ideas that came in were pretty neat.
Yeah.
So I would be willing to go that route again, just for that particular property. See what we get.
Do you anticipate whatever the
Your microphone, please, sir.
I'm sorry, do you anticipate a big response when the RFP goes out?
Right now we do. I mean, we've had a lot of phone calls, a lot of people, and for example, we know of at least 5 already.
Well, in that case, I would be in favor of having the RFP go out first as well, and then forming the committee afterward.
Are you talking about the Da Vinci lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're right, we had.
Yeah,
even
we
on
had some good ones come in on the Pine Street.
And I was expecting to see possibly the same, that one
Yeah.
developer who come in the same thing, who had a multi-use, for example,
Yeah.
I'm not an urban planner, but, we know there's a lot of people who are looking forward to putting apartments there. Well, maybe that's not the highest and best use of just apartments.
No, it's too
If it's
big.
a hotel and offices and an apartment complex, fine, maybe that's what we need. But I don't, obviously, as I did on the committee before, as Mrs. Volcano knows, I'm not gonna make any comments about my choice there because I vote here. And, so we let the committee, do what they want, and it's a rather large cumbersome committee. I think it's 11 people, but, and plus the staff. That's not counting staff people.
Am I on that committee?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Dr. Ruggles asked to be on, so the two of you are on it. So that's what our plan is, and we'll start rolling out the RFP and then put together, between the Urban Land Institute has offered to oversee the process of what we're going to do, as well as, the professor from Lehigh, I forgot her name again. Karen, why do I keep
Karen
Karen first
Pooley.
name? I know the name Pulley, but it's Pulley, though. I know the Pullii.
Frank.
Frank
Frank.
Pulley, right. And Mickey. So,
Is that how you spell their name?
yeah.
P-U-L-L.
So, that's my report, and we'll move on. There's no correspondence. There's no unfinished business
Yes,
except
there
for
is, sir.
item number C.
Mayor, for clarity, so you're suggesting that,
Sir, your microphone, please.
for clarity, are you saying that we should put the RFP out immediately?
Yeah, as we talked about yesterday, I think it's more prudent. I mean, it may end up that city council rejects it anyway. But I think to have the public come in and just talk about what they'd like to see
Yeah.
may not be what the developers want to build.
Or.
I mean, some people, I would love to see a really high-end movie theater. I don't think we're going to get that because they want surface parking for movie theaters. But when we had a movie theater, it brought people downtown for something other than coming down to eat. So if they came down for dinner and a show, or like they do for the theater, but except for a movie, but I don't know that we're going to get a movie theater that wants to come in. I really don't know,
Another
but
museum
maybe they
that
will.
come in.
But I remember the project that we had for the Pine Street Garage was multi-use.
Yep.
And the problem with that one is that it used up all the parking that it created for its own development. Maybe down there, with 3 acres, they could build their own parking. So, but I think we need the professionals it's 3 acres of really prime real estate.
Okay.
I mean, with all the interest we have in it, so I think we need the professionals to help us guide the committee and then ultimately have a community meeting. And if the community decides that they don't want any of it, well, then it's up to city council.
Okay.
Okay? So moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Clerk, letter
Okay.
C.
We have bill number 18, which was introduced by Kenneth Brown on June the 26th, amending the 2017 bond fund budget. So introduced, or, so moved, or?
I moved.
So moved. Is there moved?
Yeah.
Yes. And is there a second?
Second.
Second, the discussion, Mr.
Yeah,
Councilman.
Mayor, what are we doing with this money? I don't think we ever got any kind of formal documentation what we're gonna do with this money. I mean, I never got anything. Did you guys get anything?
Mr. Hopkins, you want to address
It's
it?
I mean, I don't-
the Akers Park.
It's gonna be a
List
what?
of everything.
No, this is the
Oh,
big one.
Oh, the big one, okay, I'm sorry.
The
Do you want me to read, hold on.
But what's the money for?
building
It
repairs.
says building repairs,
Right.
streets, okay, I'm sorry.
Well,
Right.
for example, one of the building repairs is we need a new roof on Central Fire
Okay.
Station. Why don't you address it, David?
I'll try and remember most of the here.
Do you have it, Tom?
Here you go.
No. So we don't have a breakdown of what they're doing, right? We never got that?
Thank you.
That's what we got.
Yeah, that's the
No,
only
no.
breakdown he
I
has.
don't know if
Breakdown.
Mr.
Oh.
Liznicki sent it all to you, so I have that.
All right.
Go ahead.
So in building repairs, we need to look at a brand new roof for Fire Central, and we need to do work on the mill building down at the 500 complex.
Along the creek.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some issues on the creek side wall there that we need to take care of. Under streetscape enhancements, we had 2 projects that are, they're both resident driven. One is the South Sitgreaves improvements. That would involve potentially exploring pedestrianization of the alley, improve lighting.
You didn't close off Sickery Street?
ex-
South Sickery's? You're gonna close it off?
explore it. It's
What's the 90,000 for?
Lighting, we want to get the trash situation under control, so we're looking at some type of construction of a garbage corral. You know, that really is an underutilized space, and it's not the type of it's not the type of pedestrian space that we think that the city should be offering. We've had a number of residents meet. This project goes back probably 5 or 6 years. We've met with various stakeholders, the building owners, the Main Street organization. And in fact, we had a grant years ago that we didn't utilize because we just could not get all the players to the table. This time around, I think we've reached everybody, and there's more of a willingness for everyone to work together on what the final outcome is. But when I rattle off what we're looking at, I can't tell you that they're all going to happen, but some of the priorities are, and what's pushing it for this year is that we're paving that area and Pine Street, so it's slated for improvement. So if we're going to do it, this is a good time to do it. But the trash situation is really out of control. We got to get the building owners to take responsibility. You have late night kitchen staff that just throw the bags everywhere, and like I said, I think it's a growing connection between Ferry Street and Northampton Street. Lens Court is in there, and I think there is a way to pedestrianize it, and that's what I need to work with the emergency services on, as well as the building owners.
But if you close that street off, though, there's no way for like a police car to get from Northampton Street down to the post office without going down 3rd Street. That gives them quicker access. There's no other way to get to the post office.
I don't know if they use Sitgreaves Street a lot. I mean, I've talked to the police several times about the project.
Right.
They've been supportive this far. I don't want to speak for the chief.
At the last meeting also. Please.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to the fire department. They were okay with it. And when we say pedestrianize, we're talking about a removable bollard. So like you would use bollards to block the street off.
Barricades?
No, like a bollard post, like a 6-inch round post that you can remove, like we have on the arch trail. So if someone really needed to get down there, you could remove the bollard, but that would be probably how we would control the flow of bikes and pedestrians through and not allow motorized vehicles. Now that could only be done between Northampton Street and Pine Street anyway, because people need access to parking south of Pine Street. But if you can picture where Lens Court spills onto that area, it could be a very nice courtyard. But I think we need, like I said, it's all part of what's being explored. We have a large group of people working on it. So that's one of the streetscape items. The other is the gateway coming in from Philadelphia Road and down St. John Street. I'd say the bulk of the city's visitors come in that way, and I think it needs a little bit of a facelift. So, we're looking at things like painting the traffic lights black to have reflect more of the downtown feel, landscaping improvements, signage improvements, speed signs. There's a whole host of issues that we're looking at for that gateway.
And is that just coming off?
Microphone, sir.
I'm sorry. Is that just coming off 611 you're thinking about? I'm sorry.
78.
Philadelphia Road,
Down
78.
Yeah, I think the roads have two different characters, actually.
It does. The only thing I was thinking, Dave, we're going to do something like that if we get permission to have a welcome to Easton, kind of a welcome sign.
Right.
Let them know when you hit Philadelphia Road, you're coming into really Easton.
That's the number 4369 signage.
Yeah, that's the signage. But the concrete.
One of the stairways from Lacanau Heights is completely dilapidated. It's gone. That needs to be repaired. That alone is probably a $16,000 item. That we've had that barricaded now for a year until we could get to the point where we would propose reallocating some funding. We've had a lot of requests to do that.
That's right.
The fencing down at the bottom of the hill is in disrepair and completely rusted. We'd look at replacing that. There's probably 10 items, depending on what the budget gives us, that I think there'll be worthwhile improvements as you drive into the city. We have some necessary guide rails that need to be replaced, probably in 4 different locations. They were damaged by motor vehicles. We didn't get an accident report. Some are just completely outmoded styles of guide rail that aren't even in the standards anymore.
Can you give us an example where they're at? They're mostly neighborhoods for that, right?
Well, yeah, Locust Street, Lacanore,
Madison.
yeah, right around
Madison,
there.
there.
I'm trying to think off my head. I think there's a section on Bushkill Drive. They're all over the place, and like I said, some of them are just completely outmoded, weak rail type systems. Others have been damaged. We're still working on 611. The signage is for wayfinding signage. So as council knows, I've presented several times, and so has Merge on getting this project moving. Obviously, it's a big number.
Yeah.
To do everything that they're recommending is about a $600,000 bill. We think we can value engineer that a little bit, get that price tag down, but we're going to have to do it in phases. So with this, this would be match money for us to go after county funds, and we already have received Discover Lehigh Valley funds to put toward the project to complete phase one, which is probably going to be about $200,000. And then we need to decide what to prioritize, and that could be the gateway signs coming into the city, pedestrian signage, kiosk signage, vehicle signage. And also, I thought Merge did a nice job of showing us, when someone comes to this, downtown into the parking structures, that's one of their first experiences, and how welcoming is it? How is your lighting? And I thought they showed us some really nice ideas about, ways to implement improvements like that. So that's for that. The parks improvements, we have a whole bunch of needs for that. The St. Joseph Street Park, I can't rattle them all. I got to look at my list, but there's a whole bunch of slides and playground equipment, and they're in various areas of the city that we need to replace. And the Center Square improvements is a commitment, and that is really the city's only commitment in that project, which is going to probably be between $4 and $5 million. And another thing, Councilman Milan, when we're not there yet, but PennDOT has completed its first phase of traffic study, and the first thing they've completed was the study of the ring road to see if it could support two-way traffic, and now they're working on getting into the Center Square area, and so from a division of responsibility standpoint, PennDOT would really be, and they're coordinating with us, of course, but their project and the dollars that they're bringing to the table would cover the ring road improvements. Whatever we decide to do, nothing's been decided. We're really still in the feasibility stage, and the circle roadway, and that limit of work will then butt up against the city's responsibility, which would be the inner park. And so we've worked pretty hard to use this commitment, which council made in 2015 as a match, and we've leveraged 5 separate grant funds for a total of about $800,000. So it's, we used the money and quadrupled it, which I think is good. So we have Monroe County funds, Keystone funds, DCNR funds, county funds. There's a number of funding sources to help with that. I don't think we're going to end up having enough money to, just completely tear the Center Square apart and redo it, but it'll be enough to make a giant difference and improvement.
Probably hasn't been done in 50 years.
What's that?
I think the last time it was done was the early 70s.
Yeah, it's been a long
About
time,
50 years.
and the good news is that the state money that's coming into the city will definitely take care of. I mean, obviously our highway crew will be working tonight again. This is the second night they're doing the repairs around, but the circle's deteriorating, so we're doing our best to keep it going until we can get in there and do an all-out improvement. But the state money will cover the crosswalks, probably the ADA ramps, paving, changes in any roadway geometry. Where they're looking at red, yellow, green signals versus blinking signals. There's a whole host of options out there that we're hoping by the fall we can start bringing some of these ideas to the public and saying, hey, after a long period of study, here's what the traffic engineers are looking at to try and improve both pedestrian and vehicular flow. I think at its heart that project is it's a pedestrian project, and so circulation around the square, the recreational value of the public space, can it be expanded? Those are really priorities in the design objectives. And then I think you do all those things and you try to, you know, have the least adverse impact on traffic as you can.
And I'm sure Mr. Marley, may he rest in peace, be very happy to see that come.
Yeah, probably.
Well, you know, it's a different space than it was. It's intensely used. I mean, you know,
That's going to be the logistics are going to be the difficulty. There's something there every week. You know?
it will
I don't want to
be,
remind you of that, but
it will be a complicated project to execute, but you know, that's all.
Nighttime work. Nighttime work.
Well, years ago, I think you could do that, but with the amount of residents
Yeah.
living,
Yeah,
I think a lot of thought's going to have to be put into phasing and how that work is done.
Okay.
So I hope that answered questions about what's being recommended.
Dave, what did you say, what did you estimate the total cost of the Circle, Center Square renovation's going to be?
In rough numbers, it's going to be between 4 and 5 million. But that, you know, I'm trying to be careful not to label this the Center Square project, only because it really is 3 separate large projects. You know, first we have to decide, you know, we know two-way traffic is feasible even around by the post office. It was studied. There's a minimal loss of on-street parking to gain all of that circulation, which is generally very good for a business district, generally slows down speeds. There's a whole lot of advantages to it. So that's something we need to consider. If that's something we want to do, it does open up some options for roadway geometry in Center Square. And I think it's, you know, the job of the consulting engineers to come up and present, so, you know, some good options for us to consider. You know, it's, you know, I think, like I said, the use of the space has changed immensely over the past 10 years. It's a rotary, which, you know, is very effective in moving traffic, and in most rotaries, people are not trying to get to the center of them. Our rotary just happens to be one of the most intensely used spaces, so it really is it's a tricky space to work on, and we want to handle it very carefully, put a lot of thought into what we present, and then, you know, decide what we think is the best outcome in the end.
Is the county working with you on this too?
Well, I think we may have to explore ownership. That I'm going to defer to Mr. Murphy on that one.
Yeah, Thomas Penn owns it. His brother.
That will certainly be of interest when we get there. But I think it's going to be okay because the city has done a few improvements throughout the years, and I see the county as being a good partner.
But I think at the least we'll probably need a county council resolution authorizing us, allowing us to do it. Gee, you don't have to spend any money. We're going to do it all ourselves. I'm sure they'll let us do it. But
maybe we need to give them
the
a
fact
lot
of the matter
white
is,
roses.
if we can resolve that ownership once and for all, be great. But I guess it's the shilling. What's a shilling worth today? And all the 267
It was
years it
white
wasn't been paid.
Wasn't it white roses?
One red rose is the ground
A red, is it red or white?
red.
Red. A lot of red roses.
I thought it was 7 shillings.
All right.
No?
No, it's a ground. rent.
Microphone, please, sir.
It's a ground rent under the old English common law.
Okay.
Like I said, I'll defer to Mr. Murphy on that one. But in sum, it's very exciting, and there's a tremendous potential for us to take our, you know, one of our iconic public spaces and do something good with it. We don't know what that is, but I think in the end it'll turn out great.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dave before he leaves the podium? Okay, moving on. Unfinished business?
No, sir. The roll call.
I said,
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Penza?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
New business, Mr. Clerk.
We have a resolution being introduced by Sandra Volcano. Resolved that the Council of the City of Easton authorizes the city administration to apply for a community investment partnership grant of $50,000 from Northampton County to be utilized for the construction phase of the wayfinding and signage plan for the city. A match of $50,000 is intended to come from currently unallocated bond funds. Be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Easton hereby designates Salvatore J. Panto Jr. as the official to execute all documents and agreements between the City of Easton, Pennsylvania, and the County of Northampton to facilitate and assist in obtaining the requested grant.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger.
Aye.
Mr. Milan.
Aye.
Mr. Connell.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles.
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano.
Aye.
Mayor Panta.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
We have a resolution being introduced by Peter Milan. Resolved that the Council of the City of Easton, Pennsylvania has reviewed and approves a 5-year lease agreement with option to purchase agreement, copy attached here too, between the City of Easton, Pennsylvania and Municipal Capital Finance for the purchase of 18 in-car video systems at a total cost of $113,284.80. Be it further resolved that council authorizes the mayor and city controller to sign said agreement on behalf of the city and the city clerk to attest the same.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second discussion.
I have to make an amendment.
Okay.
The amendment should read, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Clerk, $100,629. Is that correct?
No.
That's what I have here.
No,
That's the estimate.
no, the resolution I gave you there, so that's highlighted.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So I'm going to make an amendment so that it reads, with the option to purchase agreement as set forth in the quote 4RE/Vista price quote. Copy attached here too. That's my amendment.
Is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Chief Rather, you want to come up and just reiterate what this is about and how it can help prevent some of these frivolous lawsuits?
Good evening, everybody. Chief Carl Scalzo, City of Easton Police Department, 48 North 4th Street. This project is basically going to outfit all the vehicles, 18 vehicles, with brand new in-car video equipment. The reason for the actual agreement is so that we can do this at one time as opposed to trying to buy 5 units at a time. They're about $5,000, give or take, for each unit. So to be able to put them into all 18 vehicles at one time is going to allow us to not only utilize the in-car cameras, but to merge them with our body camera program, which is going to be beginning here in probably the next month or so. So this is a WatchGuard product, and basically once everything is implemented, our body cameras, our in-car cameras will all be basically attached to the same back office, and it'll allow us to record many, if not most, of the interactions that we have with citizens, to collect evidentiary information when needed, help protect officers against frivolous and false allegations of wrongdoing, and also protect citizens from any wrongdoing that may occur in an officer's hands. So it's going to really protect officers, departments, citizens, and then offer us a ton of evidentiary information so that when we do go to court and we do have to take action, we can utilize the video that's provided from these systems to help us secure convictions when needed. So it's a great product. It's, as far as we're concerned, the best product on the market right now for this function. And again, it's going to allow us to completely move at one time into the future with this with the video recording system. So again, the purpose is to kind of be able to do it all one time. So I think it's a really good project, and we're really excited to get going with it here in the next couple of months.
Other questions? Roll call. Oh, go ahead.
Real quick. For storage for all of this video that you're going to be collecting, do you have a
Part of the body camera project was a grant for about $45,000, and the whole project was about $90,000. But part of that whole project for the body cameras came with the back office. The back office includes a bunch of different things, to include a server, and the server is going to be a multi-terabyte server that's going to allow us to secure data. There's a lot of rules that go along with the capturing of video, both audio and video, when it comes to law enforcement, and both through the ACLU, the Department of Justice. So we had to create a policy, put that in place, and meet a bunch of requirements that had to get scored by the Department of Justice. But part of that is how long we retain and do those things. So we do have a server that's actually being paid for through the body grant program that's then going to merge with our in-car camera. Again, that's part of this whole solution, is that we're going to save a lot of money being able to merge these two systems together. If we would have done it the other way, we would have had some WatchGuard in cars and some custom signal in cars, and we would have had to have two systems running and two servers running, and we would have had to do it kind of piecemeal, and it would have been a lot more difficult. But again, part of the benefit of doing it this way is that a lot of the back office that we're purchasing for the body cameras can be utilized to help implement the in-car. So that's how that's going to work.
How long do we retain the records?
I don't want to speak out of turn. I believe it's 90 days, but I'd have to look again to see. We just wrote but it's it's either 30 or 90 days. I'd have to look again. I don't remember. We went through this extensively, but I don't recall exactly the amount of time.
Is that long enough to retain it?
Well, yes, because typically when something happens, we can retain it for as long as we would need to, but we just can't. If I just have an encounter with somebody, there are rules that say how long I can hold on to that information. If I don't have any other reason to retain it for a lengthy period of time, it's to ensure that I don't have an interaction with you today, and 3 years from now I pull out video of that interaction that I just held on to. So if I need it for evidence, I can secure it and retain it indefinitely until the conclusion of the case, and we follow an expungement, obviously, schedule to get rid of those types of documents. But as far as just holding information that we get, we have to follow a strict schedule as to how long. But typically, if something is going to occur, we'll know it pretty
Within
quickly.
so
that
many
we, and then,
days,
and then we'll
okay.
go into the system, review it, pull it off, secure it as evidence if need be, or whatever else we would need it for. And then that would go into evidence to be stored for a longer period of time.
Chief, one thing came to mind. Is this going to be similar to like we had with council and clerk's office, where we had tapes, and I think it was like once a year, Tom, something like that, or every 2 years we got rid of them. We had to go through council for that.
It's document shredding.
Yeah.
Document
Destruction of
shredding.
documents.
Right. We have, like I said, we have a destruction schedule that we use for documents and those types of things.
Okay.
Where like we'll get rid of citations or arrest jackets.
Okay.
Depending on the nature of the actual arrest or whatever it is. There is a expungement record or basically that we have to follow for all of that. This would be similar to that. The only thing is that this would be set by policy as to how long.
Okay,
to hold it. And the server would be set that first in, first out type situation. So it'll be set to hold it within the server. And if we don't pull it out and secure it, whatever that time frame is, when it hits that date, it's gone.
So the retention on it.
Retention's on it. Yeah, the retention's
And
set.
I
It's
bet
not
it's
something we're gonna have to
90
go in and hit a button.
Okay.
It's gonna come in, when it hits whatever it is, the 90 days, it's gonna go right out the door.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
probably
unless
90
we
days.
go in and we have a reason
And
to
you
pull
have
it.
a reason to hold it.
And we have a reason to hold it, yep. So Lieutenant Brian Hurricane actually worked tirelessly on the project, both the in-car and the body camera project, and deserves a lot of credit for where we are right now with it, both the securing of the grant and actually the implementation of everything that we've done so far. There's been a lot of work to kind of get to where we're at right now. I'm standing here today just kind of explaining what this is, but the lieutenant actually deserves the credit for being able to secure and get this project to where it is at the current time. So he's done a really good job.
So the policies that you were referring to, and maybe this is a Mr. Murphy question, but is that something that would have to come to council for approval for the policies?
No, it can be done as an administrative decision and policy.
Okay.
The only thing, just to add to that, unless there's a lawsuit or litigation, there might be an order entered to retain and preserve documents, so that may extend beyond, for example, the 90-day
Right.
period. So that would be an exception, and anytime a court enters an order, then you'd have to retain the document.
The policy will dictate when we can record, well, all of the requirements for the recording, how we secure the recording, the utilization of the equipment. So it really covers everything. And like I said, it's a scored document from the Department of Justice, so we had to actually meet a lot of standards. That was actually part of the requirement of the grant. So having the grant did a lot of things for us, other than just the funding side of it, but it actually made sure we were following best practices and setting everything up the way it needs to be set up as we move forward with the project. Where, like I said, we're excited. I know a lot of the officers are really excited to begin utilization of the cameras, because they do see the value in the transparency and the protection that it can give them as far as doing their jobs.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions,
Thank you, Chief.
discussion? Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Milan?
Aye.
At this point, we don't have any other business before council, anybody?
May I just say, was that on the amendment, or was that on the resolution in full?
Oh, that's right, there was an amendment to it. I
There
forgot.
wasn't, I thought we voted for the amendment. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so now we'll vote.
For the amendment. Mr. Milan?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Public comment on any matter, question, comments, concerns you'd like to bring before city council? Seeing none,
Move to adjourn.
there's a movement to
Second.
adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry, you wanna,
Oh, sorry.
Kurt?
Kurt Bresswine, 18 Center Square.
Go.
earlier, the consent agenda, you amended it, but did
Right.
you also approve it? I apologize for having to ask this in public, but I don't want you to.
No, we did
adjourn.
not amend it, sir.
The-
The
We just took
consent
something off.
agenda, we
Yeah.
just took something off, that's all.
So there was only one vote then, it wasn't a
Yes, sir.
amendment vote and then a final vote?
You don't amend the agenda.
Thanks,
The consent agenda is a little different than the rest of it.
that's all, thanks.
Thanks, Kurt. Keep us on our toes. There was a movement, a roll call, I think we're at.
No second.
Oh, no,
I'll second it.
David,
Okay.
second. Roll
Mr.
call.
Milan?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Volcano?
Aye.
Mayor Panza?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Please turn off your mic.
Turn them off. Mine doesn't have red light on.